2004. Man, what a special year for Goosebumps collecting. Some of my favorite films releasing that year. Wow. When I think of 2004 specifically, guys, it was honestly probably one of the best years of my childhood. But also very depressing. I remember going to a local market down the road, and honestly, of all the Goosebumps hauls that I've gotten over the years, nothing could quite compare to this. I remember getting the tape dispensers. I remember getting the alligator stapler, Goosebumps stickers, backpack, VHS tapes, audiobooks. I even got some of those stationary items like the protractor, the compass, the erasers, all of those really awesome Goosebumps items that are so hard to find. This one lady had all of it in her stall, and it belonged to her son, who was a huge Goosebumps collector, and he was finally moving on from it. So guess who swooped in to buy the entire lot from her? And not to mention, guys, the amount of Goosebumps stuff that I was finding in thrift stores, in the early 2000s in itself, was insane. So in 2004, you were still finding things all the time, but Goosebumps collecting was at an all-time high. I was finding all the things we know and love in this collection, guys, that you're always pointing out. Yeah, 2004 was just such a great year for it. But not only that, guys, two of my favorite films of all time came out that year. SpongeBob movie, and of course, Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban. Now, I'm a huge SpongeBob fan. It's no secret. I remember when the movie came out, it was just such a big, huge deal. And this was at the time when you had the green label items, you had the yellow and white label items. You just had all the really awesome SpongeBob stuff that we know and love. I mean, I still collect it today, and they still bring out some pretty awesome merch, but nothing can compare to the early stuff, guys. And I remember 2004 was probably the biggest year for SpongeBob because, well, you had the movie coming out. And I remember the promotion for that was insane. The commercials, the ads, everything was just SpongeBob. Do you know what I mean? And I remember going to see the movie on the first day it came out, went up to the theater with my family, and I remember walking up to the counter to get the tickets, and she said that they had completely sold out for the entire day. So I apparently broke down and cried. Could you imagine, as a young kid, SpongeBob being the biggest thing ever around that time and being told you can't see the movie today? I was fucking gutted. But yes, SpongeBob holds a very special place in my heart. It always will, guys. With Goosebumps, of course, being the number one. But the other film that came out that year, that is one of my all-time favorite films, and funny enough, it's actually my third favorite film of all time, and how fitting, as it is the third film in the Harry Potter franchise, The Prisoner of Azkaban. I think what I love about this film is how dark it got, because you watch the first two Harry Potter films, and it's oh yeah, they're, a little dark, but they're very, sort of happy, playful, magical, and then all of a sudden, things just change. The color palette completely changes. So, yeah, I think that is probably why I love the third film so much, because, guys, it's got, the werewolf, it's got Dementors, it's just always raining, it's really dark, and the soundtrack is just unbeatable when looking at the rest of the Harry Potter films. It is just insane. So I think maybe that's why it's my favorite, because it's probably the close resemblance to Goosebumps in terms of what you've actually got in the film. So yeah, Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban is definitely one of my all-time favorite films. But then in 2004, we also had a huge loss in the family. My grandfather passed away, and yeah, that was definitely a very hard time for me, being a very young kid. I mean, I was only like 8, guys, or 9, so I didn't really quite understand at that age. Like, I knew what was going on, I knew what was happening, but I didn't fully like comprehend what was happening. It wasn't until a little bit later, when I got a bit older, that I came to really realize exactly the full impact that it had. Yeah, it was a very sad year for that, but then also it was a very good year. 2004, guys, I have the most memories of than any other year that I've been on this earth. And yeah, I mean, you guys let me know your thoughts down below. What year do you remember the most? What is your favorite time growing up? I always love to hear these stories, guys. For me, 2004 was the best year for Goosebumps, collecting in itself, the haul I found, and just the films that were coming out. Some of my all-time favorite movies are from that year. Just the memories, guys. I loved that year.